Ben here from 498 Nerf. Now I'm working on filling in the gaps on this Hailstorm Mk.4 mod, and I'm using a new product that I haven't used before that was one of the subscribers on my YouTube channel recommended, called Epoxie Sculpt. It's a two-part epoxy clay. You mix it together, kind of like you mix Play-Doh together when you were a kid to get the different colors. And then apply it in, press it in. You've got about 1 to 2 hours of work time, and then it takes 24 hours to set. So far, and I'm just getting started into working it, very impressed. The one thing that kind of surprised me a little bit, it's a lot harder than I expected. I expected just something to be softer, something that would work. But it's as hard as the fiberglass Bondo that I've used on some of the other builds. Much easier to work with, but it's very hard. So this is a positive mostly, but it's a little bit of a negative in that it takes a lot more work to get it down to the shape that you want it. But once it's there, it's going to be fine. It's going to be a quality product. The Epoxie Sculpt worked really well. I got nice smooth lines. I was able to shape it down. It is a lot harder than the modeling clay that I was used to, so it took a lot more work, a lot more sanding, but it held up well, it bonded well, and it worked really easily. And overall, very happy with the results that I've gotten with the Epoxie Sculpt. So, shell's ready. It's time to go prime it. I'm halfway through painting. I got the base coat and then the main paint coat on the core of the blaster done. I've got this all laid out. I'm waiting for it to harden up. I'm planning on putting a gold sheen over the top of it, and that will kind of give it an iridescent part to the white part. The black parts are going to stay flat black, and then I'm going to go over it with a crystal clear enamel coat, get a nice shiny gloss on it. But it's starting to come together. Okay, so I added the Hailstorm and the Mk.4 labels, and I just used a clear label printed out for this. It's a clear thing, and it's not a perfect way of doing this, but it works really, really well when you've got a white background. Fitting the brass barrel into the Hailstorm, and I've made the cut, the length, and you'll see what I do is I put like a 6 mag or something in there, and then I measure from the center of the mag, and I try to leave about 3/4 of an inch on the back end past the flywheel so you can see. And what I'll do is I'll make a couple marks to do this cut out on the mag, the final cut on the mag to get that notch in there, and then I'll mark the centers of the flywheels, and then do the windows into the brass for those. I got the dart guide and the flywheel windows cut out of the brass barrel, so it's now ready to go. I've got it nice and smooth, filed out all the inside edges so the darts slide nice and cleanly through it. This piece should be ready to go. Finished wiring up the battery tray, and what I've got is the negative lead going to this spring terminal here, the positive lead connecting to this terminal right here, and then you can see over here I've jumpered the spring terminal on to bypass that resistance off there. It still functions mechanically, but electrically it goes back through this wire. Now if I flip this over, you can see, and I've got it taped down here, but I've got it into an XT60, and this is the male side of the XT60, so the battery will plug into this in the loom on the inside of the blaster. So final look at the painting of the main part of the blaster before assembly. You saw from the previous videos that I had a nice, I had a white base coat, or I had a black primer coat, a white base coat on this. I went through and I dusted this with a metallic gold, and then overlaid that whole thing with about 4 coats of crystal clear enamel. So anyways, it turned out really well. The blaster is coming together. This is final integration of the blaster. I've got all the components put together, saved for a couple I'll mention in a second. I've got the motor cages mounted, the electrical loom and the pusher mech mounted. You can see I've got the brass barrels in it. I've got it wired up, and everything's together. Except that I forgot to paint a couple pieces. The little tack rail nubs here, and here, I forgot to paint. They were still orange, so they're out in the garage right now, still drying. And I also forgot the clip release nub as well. So those 4 pieces are drying. Once I get that, I'll get that together, and hopefully in a couple days I'll get to do some testing and to put out an overview video on this blaster. But until then, this is conclusion of the build journal for the Mark IV, and thanks for watching.